Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend who's an IELTS examiner.
No problem.
One of the trainers is actually an IELTS examiner. All right, guys, we're going to continue this morning with what we call the TESOL methodology. The TESOL methodology is the first steps of what we call lesson planning, basically, how we design lessons for our students. Now, what are things that we need to consider before we start designing a lesson plan for students? The content of the lesson, very good. So what are the goals? If you put content, you can also think about what are the desired goals of that lesson? What language goals do we have for a specific lesson? Good. Anything else?
You must know your student is kids, adults, or teenagers.
Very good. We need to know about the age of the students. Obviously, we need to know how to design for which age. Now, if we know about the age, what's another thing that we need to consider about our students' abilities? What do we call that? Level. Good. So basically, there are three main components that we always need to consider when starting to design a lesson. We need to understand what are the language goals of the lesson, what do they need to have acquired by the end of the lesson, the age of your students. Obviously, can you play songs with kids?
Yes.
Can you play songs with adults?
Sometimes.
Yes.
Well, give me an example. And no, he's right though. Give me an example.
Actually, when I taught my students, because they are teenagers,
Yeah.
about the past tense, I played the song yesterday once more, the Carpenter,
Okay.
and in the song they use the present simple tense.
So basically, you will use an age-appropriate level song. In Vietnam, do people like karaoke?
Yes.
Yes.
So you can, to a certain extent, use songs with adults, but they obviously have to be age-related, and you have to know your audience. But with kids, obviously, you're going to use lots and lots of songs. So basically, can I play running games with kids? Yes. Can I play running games with adults?
No.
It depends on the adults you have, again, but most of the times, not. So age is very, very important. And the level. Now, age and level are not the same thing. A lot of people think because they're adults, we have to treat them like intermediates. But if they're adults, beginner, do they understand English? No, they don't. So level and age need to be considered separately. Good. Now we're going to look into the book and we're going to look at the components that make the TESOL methodology and how we start designing our lesson plan based on these components here. There are other factors, but these are the main factors. Page 21, please, in your books. Yeah, that is correct. Can you start reading for us, please?
Yes. TESOL methodology.
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 Method.
There are three syllables.
TESOL methodology.
There you go. Well done.
It is important that the set course contained in the TESOL class will be planned, presented, and taught consistently. Failure to follow a particular structure of teaching and presentation will result in incomplete or poor language learning goals and confusion among students.
Is that something we want? Confusion, not reaching the goals at the end of a lesson?
No.
Obviously, we want the students to understand the language that they've learned and not be confused about it and actually reach the goals of the lesson. Now, what do you need to do to reach this on a consistent basis? You need to design a
Lesson plan.
lesson plan. For those of you who have been or are teachers, have you ever designed the lesson plan? Yes? How did you feel when you had a lesson plan in your hands?
More confident.
More confidence. Were we more likely to reach the goals? Yes. Now, Have you ever been in a lesson without a lesson plan?
Yes.
Yes.
How did that go for you, Ms. Tweeda?
I just feel a little bit not on the track sometimes, but I still feel kind of flexible to do something with students because almost my student kids so it's easier when even though I don't have plan, but I still have activity and things for them.
Well, you've already considered and you already know the lessons fairly well and you know the lesson contents fairly well, yes?
Yes.
But did it always work out?
Sometimes.
Okay, well, we want to avoid the sometimes. It has to be consistent.
Yeah.
And obviously, sometimes we know the goals very well, or we've given the lessons before, or it's very easy and we have a lot of activities to rely on, and you can do it well. But are you always going to be 100%? I'll give you an example. I had dengue about a week ago. I'm still feeling a bit tired. How do I manage to still give my course? It's because I have a strong lesson plan to rely on. You're not always going to be 100% and know the goals extremely well, so always having a lesson plan to rely on is extremely important. Who else has been in a lesson without phone? Have you ever been in a lesson without designing a lesson plan?
Yes, I have.
And how did that go for you?
Well, I got nervous really quickly.
Nervous?
Yeah, and most likely the case that I'm going to lose my cool and start to saying things that are not really related to the lesson.
Or relevant to the lesson. Good. So we're going to lose our way sometimes. So obviously, it's always better to be confident in the lesson, design a good lesson plan. Personally, sometimes I was called last minute. They would say, Simon, one of the teachers called in sick. Can you come in? And then they give me a bunch of flashcards and they say, go into the classroom. And it was 50-50, a little bit like you. So it's always important to prepare, even when we're not teaching, because we might have cover teachers and they deserve a lesson plan as well. Good, let's continue. Popcorn to somebody else, please. Okay.
It is by following a formal teaching methodology methodologies that the teacher implements proper planning, structure, and continuity in the textual classrooms. When the teaching methodologies is used in textuals, it means a combination of two things: the approach, the textual, the technique. Let's see how that three components form the teaching methodologies. The technical is right, the textual methodologies.
Very good. So the approach, the general philosophy, the method is the actual lesson plan itself, where we list everything in order in which it will be used. And the techniques is the way we teach and how we reinforce with activities in the classroom to reach the goals. And obviously they will be listed in the lesson plan in the order in which it will be used. I'll go on to somebody else, please. Yeah, start with approach in the table.
Approach the theory of the best way of teaching the particular lesson.
Very good. So this is the first thing you're always going to consider. How am I going to best reach the goals? So you're going to choose approaches to best reach the goals that will help you design activities and teaching methodology to reach the goals effectively. And we always base it off of the goals, the age, the level. There are a few other factors such as the skills, but it can still be included in the goals. How many students we have in the classroom, the environment we have to teach, but these are the main three. Continue, please, team.
Method of this is teaching techniques that are important in their lesson. They should be listed in the same order they will be used in the lesson.
So this is your actual lesson planning when you're starting to put everything in each order in which you're going to do it, the first step of lesson planning. Tomorrow we will go through the lesson plan and I'll show you the actual format we'll be using. So worry about the method tomorrow. For now, techniques, continue.
And techniques, tasks, or activities are the teachers has selected skills identified in the lesson. Examples include watch cartoons, play
Role play.
role play, discussion, worksheets, or preparation.
And also list techniques, teaching techniques. How we teach something is very important as well, based on the level and the age. We'll turn the page and we'll be moving to the 10 most common used TESOL approaches. There are many more approaches that you can learn on the internet, but for now we focus on these 10. For the course, for your lesson plans, choose one of these 10 or more than one. Popcorn to somebody else, team.
Miss Pitt,
Ms. Pia, please. Thank you.
visual approaches. There have been many global studies on the subjects of teaching and learning a second language or other languages. Discoveries have not shown any single best way of teaching a foreign language, but research has revealed some factors that influence the acquisition of a language or languages.
Very good. You can popcorn to somebody else.
Miss Nhung.
TESOL approaches deal with the most effective way of teaching and learning the second or another language. A particular approach is employed by a teacher to teach and present the lesson effectively. TESOL teaching is completed by using many approaches that have been created. However, the effectiveness of the approaches varies. Like below are 10 TESOL approaches that are currently more widely adopted and effective.
Okay, so they say that the effectiveness varies. It varies on what? On these three factors here, the most important one. The goals, the level, and the age of your students. And it's never going to be 100% either. Like, I'm never going to say a specific approach, never use with beginners, but it is mostly useful for higher levels, for example. It's never black and white. So you also have to use your own initiative and how best the actual approaches suit you as a teacher. There's no one teacher that is exactly the same either. So your personal style needs to come into play here as well. Let's start reading. Popcorn to somebody else, please. Vu.
Is that the first?
Communicative approach. Thank you.
Number one, communicative approach. The main reason for designing this approach is to teach English in the TESOL classroom. Its principles are based on the theory that listening and speaking skills are the fundamental practice that count in learning a language. Through different techniques, students have opportunities to practice conversation in socio-linguistic conditions where they model various language functions such as introducing and meeting, expressing an opinion, discussing, asking, describing, and questioning. When the TESOL teacher is using this approach, the main focus would be to use the techniques that utilize the speaking and listening skills, but only incorporate the writing and reading skills where necessary.
Very good, thank you very much. Now, what are the main skills for this particular approach?
Listening and speaking.
Listening and speaking. Now, this is all about communicative English, which means fairly basic language skills. But if we look at the type of language, introducing and meeting, what levels can do a basic introductions?
Starting from very beginning.
Beginners, good. Now what about expressing an opinion?
Intermediate.
Is intermediate and higher, maybe pre-intermediate, a very basic one, but it is higher level stuff usually. What about discussing? Again, depending on, my favorite food is chicken. What's your favorite food? You can do it maybe with upper beginners, but again, pre-intermediates and above usually. What about asking?
Intermediate.
Beginner, upper beginners, you could start, but obviously more complex questions, but you could start at lower level. Describing something.
That would be
Upper beginner.
You can describe something at an upper beginner?
Pre-intermediate.
Well, it's something like
This is usually, yes, you could say, this is my teddy bear, he's brown, he has
Ah.
4 legs,
Beginner.
but usually describing something in depth is a higher level skill. So yes, you can use your judgment, like you just did. You can sometimes do it at lower level, but definitely something more appropriate for
Appropriate.
higher levels.
Higher level.
Questioning. It's not simply asking, but it's deeper questions in this case. This is higher level stuff. So based off of these discussions we just had, would this be more suitable for higher levels or for lower levels?
Higher.
So we tend to use this, generally speaking, with higher levels, but you can also use it with lower levels in the capacity that they're able to. You're going to use it in a limited capacity. Now, when we say social linguistic, what do we mean by that term?
social, basically the words that we use daily.
Yeah, so social is society, linguistics is the study of language. So how do we use language in our everyday lives? Everyday language, basically. Now you said speaking and listening because this is what is listed here. But this book was written before we started having more modern applications to communications. So in terms of more modern application to communication, do we use a lot more technology to communicate with each other now?
Yes.
Yes.
So do we tend to use our phones to call people or to text?
Text.
So can we do reading and writing as well with this approach nowadays?
Yes.
In a more modern context, yes, we can. Emails, texting, and so on. Social media, for example, are ways that we can communicate with writing and reading. Obviously, in the classroom, we do want to promote speaking and listening as well. So we tend to use it more for speaking and listening. So in terms of goals, speaking and listening, unless we're using it in a modern application for reading and writing. What age is this good for?
From teenagers.
So you can sometimes use it with kids, but more appropriate for your teenagers and adults. Good. Let's move on to the next one, the natural approach, which I find is really, really important, especially when it comes to starting a lesson with our students. Popcorn to someone else, please.
Approach number 2, the natural approach. The natural approach is backed by the theory that effective learning of a second language must encourage students to speak and participate in class. And because of the fear of making mistakes, it is common for students to refrain from talking in the classroom. This approach is designed to help students speak freely in the classroom without the fear of correction. As this approach does not involve correction of mistakes, only fluency.
What's the most important thing about language?
Fluency.
But yes, that's the term that they use here, but to use it in simpler terms, the idea is the ability to communicate ideas to others. Does that involve being precise?
No.
No.
Well,
Not
it
always.
depends on the type of information we are providing. Higher levels, grammar, and the preciseness of language is extremely important, but basic communication does not involve being precise. The most important thing is being understood.
Understood.
Now, in this context, based off of the explanation, discussion, this is more suitable for which levels?
I think for beginner.
Yeah, for your beginners, upper beginners, it's very important that the students understand that making mistakes is okay. Now, do we fix any mistakes in this approach?
No.
Yes. And that was a trick question, I'm sorry about that. You shouldn't correct any mistakes that are not part of the language goals of the lesson. If you are teaching something for that specific lesson, yes, do correct it. But if it's not part of the language goals of that lesson, do not correct it. Let it go. I'll give you an example of me using the natural approach in my class. Oh, hi, what did you do last weekend? I go eat at the restaurant with my family. Oh, what did you eat there? I eat chicken, rice, and ribs. So you ate chicken, rice, and ribs? Good. And who was there with you? My dad is there, my mom. Was the students using correct English?
No, it's
But I could understand the student, right? So I respond using always appropriate English, but never overtly correcting my students. That is the definition of the natural approach. Good. Now, what age is it good for? Is it a factor?
Not a factor.
It's not a factor. Remember, age and level are not the same thing. This is about level, not age. It's getting the students to feel comfortable and understanding that mistakes are okay as long as that you're understood. What type of language goals are we focusing on here? It's grammar.
No.
It's basic grammar, basically. The ability to formulate ideas and structure them. So it's grammar.
Grammar.
Yeah, not so much vocabulary, because vocabulary we tend to be kind of difficult on pronunciation and correcting pronunciation and the meaning of vocabulary. Good. Number 3, task-based approach. Popcorn, somebody, please.
It's
Yes, approach number 3, task-based approach. This approach is based on the theory that for students to learn a second language effectively, they have to perform tasks in the second language. Teaching using this approach focuses more on the task to be completed using the task approach.
Good. Another word we could use is projects. We give students specific tasks or projects to perform in the classroom, and they have to use English to accomplish this. For example, let's say I'm mimicking a shop, and I want the students to use specific language to get objects out of the shop. So, may I have an apple, please? Yes, of course, $5, please. So that would be an example of a very, very basic task-based approach. A higher level task-based approach, I can ask my students to perform a stop motion video. One of the students is a photographer, the other one is an actor, the other one is the editor, the other one is the script designer, and they all have to communicate together to get this task accomplished, which is by the end a video that is based on stop motion pictures. Now, what level do you think this approach would be good for?
high level.
Higher level? Well, you're not wrong. I gave you an example of a higher level, but I'll give you an example of a lower level one. Okay, today we're going to make pancakes. You all have a picture of a recipe that you need to accomplish. I have the objects here in the pantry. Come and get the objects. First, you need 2 eggs. They all line up. They get 2 eggs. Break the eggs. They do the start of the recipes. What level would that be? Beginners. It's based on the task you design for the students to accomplish. Any level, age.
No.
What about kindergarten? Can you do it with pre-K, for example? Pre-K don't have the motor skills to be able to do it. Kindergarten, older kindergarten students, yes. So I would say any child above the age of 5 and above would be okay for this. Anyone younger, very difficult to use this approach. I say this because I taught pre-K for a while, and yeah, they have limited ability to use their hands or understand the functioning of activities in general. Number 4, lexical popcorn.
I'm sorry, but I hope on to.
Why? No neighbors.
I know, but she not.
It doesn't matter. Keep it random.
Okay,
You can go with you.
I didn't go with you.
Okay.
Lexical approach. The theory supporting this approach states that the best way to learn a language is to use vocabulary taught in word families. The teacher creates a lesson choosing a specific theme in which some vocabulary will be taught. For instance, the topic will be
Occupation.
Occupations.
Occupation, using vocabulary like doctor, dentist, lawyer, firefighters, and teachers. This approach at the lower levels focuses on just learning new vocabulary. At higher levels, however, words are taught in phrases or chunks, the basic language commonly used in spoken language. The lesson focuses on the words used to make utterance and not the grammar.
Very good. So what are the language goals for this particular type of approach? Vocabulary. It's always related to only vocabulary. Those are the language goals. Now, what level is it for?
Beginner.
So definitely always with lower levels, beginners, upper beginners, pre-intermediate, you always use the lexical approach, sometimes for higher levels. Well, when you use phrasal verbs or other expressions such as idioms, for example, then you can use this approach as well for higher levels. But lower levels all the time. Is it age related? Not at all. It's level related. Good. Student-centered approach. Popcorn, please. Neil.
Part 5, student-centered approach. In this approach, the interest and needs of the students are the main focus. The activities are selected to address what the teacher encourages the student.
Encourages.
Encourage the student to acquire, and what they ought to be able to do. Students serve as a valuable resource in the classrooms. The lessons given by the teacher usually focus on the topics and vocabulary that are relevant to the
Relevant.
student. Relevant to the student. This can include business or academic.
Relevant means the most important to someone. If it's not relevant, it's not important to them. Good. All right, now what level is this for? Lower or higher? Do you think we can base it, like, let's say you were teaching beginners, could you base it on the students' needs? No, they have basic requirements to understand basic language before you can base it on the students' needs. So definitely not beginners, not upper beginners. From pre-intermediate onwards, you can start doing it, but you've got to be careful. It's more age relevant from this point on. For example, you're teaching tour guides. Are they going to be young children? No, they're usually going to be adults or teenagers that have very specific language needs. If it's adults, then I would accept pre-intermediates and onwards. But usually this is more relevant for upper intermediate and advanced students that have very specific requirements, such as for their jobs, promotions, going abroad to study, or to get a job abroad, or to immigrate in another country, for example. So extremely high levels or adults with specific job requirements, such as tour guides, for example, or people that work in hotels. Number 6, Huyen, please.
It's my turn.
I know. I wanted to make sure that it was fair for everyone.
Level 6, the whole language approach. This is an approach that addresses all aspects of English language.
Simultaneously. At the same time. Simultaneously. It's a long word, but fairly easy.
Speaking, listening, reading, writing, vocabulary, spelling, and grammar are all possibilities.
That's a lot of things to do in one single lesson, if you do right. Now, what level is this for? Higher, lower? This is usually reserved for higher levels. What about age? Would we want to do this with kids? So, probably not with kids, so teenagers and adults is more appropriate. Higher levels. And the language goals are all of it together, all at once. Now, can you accomplish this in a short lesson, like 45 minutes?
I think we cannot.
We cannot. So one other factor that we can add to this list is time.
Time.
Another factor that we need to consider when teaching is how long will the lesson last? So you can't do this in a short amount of time. It requires significantly longer lessons. Good. Popcorn to the next one, please. Palmonic
7.
grammar translation.
Grammar translation approach. This approach is aimed for the students to gain knowledge of the language in the form of grammatical accuracy. Obviously, more attention is given to grammar and accuracy.
Now, this is in opposition to which approach?
The natural.
To the natural approach. It's in direct opposition to the natural. So at lower levels, being precise and accurate is not as important as for higher levels. So this is mostly for higher levels. Now, what age is this relevant for? Do we teach grammar explicitly to children?
No.
Never. So not children. What about teenagers? Yes. They're higher levels? Yes. What about adults?
Yes.
If they're higher levels? Yes. So this is when we get into the minutia of grammar. We tell them about the rules, when and how to use it, the actual formulas for using the grammar as well. So we get into the nitty-gritty details of grammar. Something we never do with children and lower levels. Popcorn, please. Number 8. Mr. Wu.
Okay. Number 8, total physical response approach, TPR. TPR students learn words and language patterns in combination with either singing, listening to music or physical movement and activities or any combination of these methods.
So this is all about movement and language recognition. What is going to be the main skill we're going to be using for this particular approach? There might be a few. Listening is the main language skills. We're developing the listening skill with this. What other skills can we consider?
Total
Maybe
physical.
speaking, but at a much lower rate than listening. There will be vocabulary involved. What type of vocabulary will students learn using TPR? Verbs, action words, or activities. So usually it's going to be verbs and commands. That's what they're learning, vocabulary. There might be some pronunciation, some speaking, but in a very limited capacity. What age is it for?
Kids.
Obviously, kids all the time, no matter the level, they love moving around. What about teenagers and adults?
It depends. I think for teenagers it might work, but for adults, it's not easy to implement music and stuff like that. Maybe just
Okay, well, you're focusing too much on singing, dancing, running, games. Now, Fong, can you please stand up and bring your pen to Wu, please? Yeah, give him your pen, please. Go back to your seat. Thank you. Now, that was TPR.
TPR?
That was TPR. I just used movement and language to get you to do something. So just make sure that you use TPR in an appropriate format when it comes to teenagers and adults. Because when it comes to lower levels, listening is the first skill you want to develop. It's the first skill you learn. TPR is absolutely necessary even for adults beginners. Just make sure you don't do songs with them. Find other ways to use language and movement that will be more appropriate to your adult audiences. Obviously, you're not dancing and singing and running around, but you can use other ways of doing TPR with adults that is more appropriate. But obviously, much more useful with kids. Okay? Don't get me wrong there. Number 9, audio visual lingual approach. Popcorn, please.
Popcorn should be
No neighbors.
no neighbors.
No, sorry.
Okay, so Hương, Miss Hương.
Audio visual
Lingual.
approach. The approach
Uses
uses sound and film clips and song
lyrics.
lyrics to increase
Exposure.
exposure to the use of the target language in electronic media. The language that the students are learning can be
Presented.
presented as dialogue and structural
Drills.
that allow for pattern practice to rote learning.
Okay, so there's a few terms here. Rote. What does rote mean? Rote. To learn by rote. It's a very used technique in Vietnam when learning literature and history. Learn by heart. Rote learning. So you learn by heart. You memorize everything. Now, drill. What does drill mean?
It's like
You focus on a specific task.
Close.
Close.
like a set
Requires a little bit more.
like a set of
I'll write a word here.
actions or something.
Well, you're talking about like in the army, but
Yeah, yeah.
in terms of a classroom, it's
a
about repetition. For example, I say apple, you say apple. Apple. Tuyen, you got my drill. Good job. So drilling and what we call pattern practice. What is pattern practice? A pattern is a repeated sort of speech, so it involves grammar for lower levels. So all in all, the audiovisual lingual approach is for which levels? For beginners, upper beginners, somewhat pre-intermediates to a lesser extent. So lower levels, beginners, upper beginners, we use the audiovisual lingual approach for teaching grammar, vocab. Do we use it for higher levels? No. Good. What about age? Is it age relevant or level relevant?
it's level.
Level.
You're correct. We still use repetition for the adults and your teenagers of beginners and upper beginners. Good. Last but not least, popcorn. Me. I don't know who was the last to read. I was-
My sister.
Number 10, electric approach.
Eclectic.
Number 10,
Like the frog in Vietnamese.
Hey, you know,
Eclectic. How do I know? 10 years in Hanoi.
10 years.
I know. I like
Low egg.
low egg.
Low egg.
Low egg. So no.
But not.
Number 10, electric approach.
Yes.
This approach gives room for a condition where the teacher can use various techniques that can feature under the theory of some other approaches, apart from giving the lesson
Variety.
Variety.
It also makes the lesson interesting and reflexive.
Good. So in this case, it's not about age, level, time. It's which approaches you're going to combine together. And when you're using this approach, please list out the other approaches you are using as well. Personally, I use the eclectic all the time. It allows me a lot more flexibility in the types of approaches and activities I will use in my classroom. And it reflects me as a teacher a lot more. Okay? Good. Now, close your books. I'm going to describe some approaches and you guys will name them for me. Close your books. Close. Okay. In this one, I'm going to be dancing and singing songs with my students. Which one is it?
Dancing.
Number
Audio
8.
visual.
T.
TPR.
TPR. Total physical response. Good. In this one, I'm going to make sure that my students understand everything there is to know about the rules of the language.
Grammar.
Grammar, translation. Good job. In this one, I'm going to focus on speaking and listening, making sure that my students understand how to have a proper conversation.
Communicative
approach. Good. In this approach, I really don't care if my student make mistakes as long as it's not part of natural approach. In this one, I'm going to make sure that my students do lots and lots of repetition and repeat the patterns of language. Audio, visual, lingual approach. In this one, I'm going to make sure that my students understand the language in both spoken, written, listening, all of the skills will be used at once. Whole language approach. In this one, I'm teaching fruits today. I'm focusing on vocabulary of fruits.
Lexical
approach. Good. And am I missing one?
Students.
Okay. In this one, I'm teaching doctors about medical terms. Student-centered approach. Good. Now, before we continue, I have a little mini activity where I will perform an activity. You guys will think about which approaches at the end I've used during this activity. It's one of my favorite activities of all time. It's called Back to the Board.
Back to the board.
Yeah, back to the board. Boo, can you please stand up, bring your notebook and your pen. You will all need a notebook and a pen for this activity. I'm going to ask you to use your last page as to not mess up your notes, if that's okay. I would like you to stand with your back to the board, right there. Back to the board. Like this, back to the board. Now, I will write something. Do not look at the board, please, okay? Now, Fu, this is a fruit. It shares the same word as a color. If you mix yellow and yellow and red together, what is it?
Orange.
Okay, now don't say it, write it down.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I made a mistake, sorry guys. Okay, now you put it over your shoulder. Now the person standing behind you, which will be me, will see. I count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If the other people don't have the word, you're the only one that will get the points, okay? So, now, are you allowed to say the word on the board?
No.
No, you are not allowed. I made a mistake, therefore it would cost me a point. You're going to be doing this in pairs. Listen to your number carefully. 1, 2, 3. Now we start over. 1,
2, 3.
4.
Very good. So team number 1, please stand up, bring your notebooks and your pens. You're in team number 3. So the sisters come up.
Number 1.
The sisters.
Please stand here.
I don't know.
Please stand in front of her. You're going to be describing the word. You'll switch later. You write down the word. You don't say it out loud. Put it at the last page as well. Team number 2, come on down. Please stand here. Team number 3, come on down. Team number 4, come on down. A little bit back this way. Take a step back. Take a step forward. You're good. Can you all see the board, the ones in the back?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Let's just do a demo round. Now, no body language accepted, only language. Speaking, are you allowed to say the word on the board?
No.
No. You don't do like me, or you will get a point deducted. What do you do when you know the word for the guys with their back to the boards? You write it down and put it over your shoulder. I will do a countdown. The first person, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Everybody that's got a correct answer will get a point. If you don't have the book up in time, no points.
Okay.
We'll start as a demo, no points for this round, just for practicing. It's an adjective. It won't be very difficult. Go.
This is the opposite meaning of difficult.
Easy.
Don't say it.
No speaking.
It's the opposite of difficult.
Write it down. Write it down.
It's like everyday doing, you know.
Put it over your shoulder.
Adjective.
1,
Describe.
2, 3, 4, 5. Easy. Easy. Too late. You didn't put it over your shoulder. So there would be 3 teams that would get the points. 1, 3, and 4 would get the points. If you were a bit too slow, you had the word, but you need to put it over your shoulder. Now, this is going to be the first real round. We will give points for this round. You guys ready?
Yes.
Ready?
Okay, let's get started with this round. It's going to be a bit more difficult, okay? Still an adjective. Go.
Okay, it's the opposite of
When the test is easy, okay? But the opposite of easy in the test. The test is,
It's an adjective.
Adjective.
It starts with an H.
but not difficult.
With an H.
No, not the word difficult.
5,
It only have four letters.
3, 2, 1, and stop. Hard is correct. Hard is correct.
God, my God.
Late. 8? No. Difficult. I was looking for the word hard. So it could be the opposite of soft and difficult, easy at the same time. So you've got to think further than just the opposite of easy. Switch. If I said a good word, you put a star next to your word. Put a star. Put a star. All right. Now, we're still in the adjective, but it's going to be significantly harder at this point. Harder, what kind of word is that? What kind of adjective? It's a
Comparative.
comparative. So we're going to be using superlatives, comparatives, and basic forms of adjectives. Go.
Highest. Okay. Comparative, right?
Start with
Put it over your shoulder.
Superlative is adjective like the first.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tallest. Tallest. What? Tall. Thin? No. Taller? No. Tallest is the word I was looking for in the superlative format. Star, star. Switch.
Switch. Oh my God. Okay. Khó.
English only, or you're gonna lose the point. Go.
When you describe, so okay, you have more age than me, so how are you to me?
Yeah, you're 20.
I am younger than you, so you are than me.
5, 4, 3,
Okay.
2, 1, and go. So, older, 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 and older.
Okay.
You all get 1 point. Put a star next to it. Switch. Put a star.
Switch.
Okay, we're going to change the category. We're moving to jobs.
Okay. Pretty bad at this.
Go.
Okay. No. Barack Obama, okay. Donald Trump.
But someone will take you from that.
In school, right?
In school, yes. The first job after graduation.
It starts with an L.
But I don't know.
You are punished by doing something wrong.
The people who
Someone
will have to take fan in the class.
Okay, got it.
Missing L, A, Y, letter.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lawyer is correct. Lawyer is correct. Lawyer is correct and lawyer is correct. Put a star. Switch.
Oh my god. Switch.
Switch. Now, this one should be pretty difficult. Let's see if you can manage this one. Go.
This is the people who work
You're not allowed to say he.
Donald Trump, okay? Who is he? But not president, okay? In general.
It starts with a P. And this person,
It has to be.
The same position, is this?
No. It's actually like all the people working at national government. Who are they? And they share the first letter with the
President.
with president. They share the first letter with president.
Share the first letter with president.
Constitution about a lot of things.
Yeah. Constitution.
Okay.
It starts with P.
Pause. I will give a hint. Anybody that works in politics is a.
Yeah.
I've seen politics.
Who works in politics is
This is the position of the politics.
No. You change the form to the noun. Okay.
Five.
People. Yeah. All of them.
3, 2, 1. Politician. It's wrong spelling, but I'll give it to you. Politician. I'll give it to you. And I'll give it to you. God bless.
Oh my god, so difficult.
No, president is not good.
Switch.
Switch.
What do you say?
Okay, we're still doing jobs.
Terms, no problems. We can make mistakes. Don't.
I don't have trust on myself.
All right.
Go.
The people who design the house.
Okay.
No, but not for the field. Create the field building. The university of
Do they build
Chinese.
Alright, I know. That's the HAU, right?
4, 3,
Yes.
1. Architect. No points. Yes, no points. So team 1 and team 3 get a point. Switch. Okay, switch. Now we move to landscapes. Words that are related to landscapes and geography. Okay.
Better. This is the flows. Okay. Yuruma, the pianist, has the very famous song, blah blah, flows in you.
It starts with an R.
What flows like goes into.
2, 1.
Yeah.
River is good. Team 4. River. What do you have? River. Too late.
Too late.
Too late. Sorry.
Oh my god.
So switch.
Oh my god.
Okay. Now, it's in the same line, but it's going to be a proper noun. A proper noun needs to be capitalized.
The longest river is the river.
Okay.
You must have the article as well.
Yeah.
The article.
Article.
The definite articles.
Good. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. You have.
No.
The name of the river.
No, Amazon doesn't work. Nile goes.
The longest.
The
River, right?
Nile.
It's in
no.
Africa.
It's the Nile, and this should be capitalized, so no points. Yes, and yes. I would have I accept just Nile, but obviously you need
Forgot.
the Nile, but I accept Nile. Nile should be capitalized because it's a proper noun. And the longest river is in Egypt called the Nile. Switch.
Better geography.
Okay, we're going to go with man-made structures. So still landscapes, but things that man made. So
Okay, people.
go.
This is the thing that you cross or on a river. It's on a river. You have to use it to cross
5,
the river.
4, 3, 2, 1. You got a star. You got a star. You got a star. And you got a star. Everybody gets a star. Switch. Last round.
Last round.
That's right.
Last round. Okay. So this one is going to be something man-made, but it is going to be a proper noun again. So very famous man-made structure.
Yes.
Go.
It's symbol of Paris. Symbol of Paris. The symbol of Paris is very tall. It's made of silk. The symbol of Paris. Paris.
Okay.
It's really high.
Okay, I know it. The tower, right?
Yes.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Eiffel Tower.
Oh my god.
Eiffel Tower. No points. Point. Eiffel Tower, everyone. Now, work together and add your stars, please.
Add my star. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 stars. How many?
1, 2, 3,
So how many do you have?
4.
8 star.
5.
This one? Yes.
Too late.
Too late? No, we have a star.
How many do you guys have? 5. Good.
It's
How many
9.
do you have?
9.
9. Okay, guys. So Team 3 and Team 4 are both the winners with 9 stars. Congratulations. Honorable mention for 6 and 5 points each for Team 1 and Team 2.
Yes.
Congratulations. Above 5 points is a really good score. So be proud of yourselves. Good job, guys.
Very stressful.
Open your books to page 16 and let's write down this activity. Now, before we write down the activity, what approaches did I use for this particular activity? So I used the lexical because I usually gave you the sort of type of words I was looking for. So lexical, yes. Then?
TPR.
Not TPR,
Yeah.
not body. Definitely the eclectic because there are other approaches. Good. So we have eclectic, lexical, what else? Whole language? Not really, because I didn't ask you to write a text with it. Spelling was there, maybe, yes?
Task-based,
Task-based.
because you gotta have to.
Finish and win the game.
I see where you're coming from, but it's more communicative than it is.
To describe.
Yeah, you're describing
Correct.
words. And one more. Natural. I'm not focusing on the preciseness of the language you're using because you're doing it all at the same time. So as you can see, I used a variety of different approaches in one simple activity. And obviously the eclectic approach. Good job. Good activity. I really like this type of activity. Now let's write it down. What skills are used? Page 16.
16.
16. What skills?
Listening.
Listening, yes.
Speaking.
Speaking.
Writing.
Spelling.
Spelling, yeah.
Vocab.
Yeah, vocab.
Is there grammar in the way that you explain things?
No.
Well, I used comparative, superlative adjectives. You could put grammar.
Grammar.
Obviously, it's not the main skill, but you could add a component to it.
Yes.
It's called back to the board.
Back to the word.
Back to the board. Students are facing each other, describing vocabulary that the teacher has written down on the board. They cannot say the word that is written down on the board. What topics?
Any.
Any topics, that is correct. What level is it for? The describing part is difficult, right?
Intermediate.
I would say pre-intermediate and above. If you use body language, maybe you could start at lower levels, but I would tend to use another activity with body language called Yes Word, which we will do this afternoon, which is similar but based on much lower levels. The student speaking time.
100.
It's never 100, but you're 99%.
99%.
It's very high. Good. Now, before we go to lunch, I'd really like to move on to talking to lower levels.
Low levels.
Do you think it's easy to talk to beginner students in English? They don't understand. Now, what should we do when talking to beginner students? Okay, using body language, make it short and clear.
Clear.
Sorry? Speak slowly. Good. There's something I didn't hear. Do we use Vietnamese? But do we use Vietnamese?
We don't. We
No? Who thinks no?
I didn't know.
No Vietnamese? Okay. Who thinks we use a little bit of some Vietnamese?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
With the word.
Okay, when would you use Vietnamese?
When the word is too complicated.
But would you teach complicated words to lower levels?
No. When student.
don't understand. When we repeat 3 times, they still don't get it.
Okay, so if everything else has failed, then yes, you can use Vietnamese. That's the last resort. Now, Phong, you said when the words are too complicated and you still wanted to add something. Let's finish the question. Because usually, in my personal experience, you don't teach very complicated terms to lower levels. Therefore, it doesn't require a lot of explanation. Now, meaning is important when we're teaching students. How do we generate meaning to your lower levels? So some of you said body language, right? Body language. Body language is one of these things that we can use to generate meaning in language for lower level students. You said we can use pictures, right?
Yes, yes.
So we call these visual aids, such as flashcards, pictures, PowerPoint presentations. Can we use real objects?
Yes.
We call this realia. And obviously body language is part of your visual aids.
Visual aid.
You guys also said speak slowly. I remember my first year in Vietnam teaching English to lower levels. My students did not understand. And this might seem easy to say, but very difficult to really put into practice, especially if you're good at the language. Slowing down your speed of speech requires significant attention on the part of the teacher. So speak slowly. Also, we need to use what we call simple language. That's another issue I had on my first year because I studied at university in English. The type of language I tended to use is very academic, complex. My students, so again, you need to simplify your language. Doesn't mean to dumb down, it means we use simple language to talk to our students. Good. So these are the main tools you will use. For example, if I do this, what does this mean? Silent, be quiet. So I use language. Everybody, please be quiet. I say the words in combination with language. What does this mean?
Stand up.
Stand up. Very good. If I say this,
Sit down.
sit down. If I do this, what is this?
You please.
You, I, or me. So anytime I say something to the student, I use a combination of body language. If I ask a question, what's your name? My name is Simon. So you use body language in combination of any type of language you use and speak slowly. Now today we're going to practice this body language. To help you get to know each other a little bit more, we're going to make two teams. You guys are going to tell a story using body language only. It's called body story. Okay, so you will use only body language to tell us a story. We will have to guess three things. Where is it happening? Location. Now, can you give me some ideas of what a location could be? A park, very good. What else?
Swimming pool.
Swimming pool, good. Could we do it in a cafe?
Yes.
In a restaurant?
Yes.
Could we do it in Ho Chi Minh? No, because we can't say the words, right? So make a general location in a classroom, in a hospital, in a hotel, and maybe public transport. These things you can do without talking. But a specific location, difficult. Now with the location, we will need to know what is the situation. What is happening? And it needs to be something funny, guys, okay? Make it a little bit out there. Not too crazy, we're still in a classroom, but something funny. And last but not least, what are your characters? Each one must have a role or a character during the telling of the story. So from this school all the way to the end, you guys are going to work together, bring your chairs together. From this all the way to Tuyet. Let me know.
Sorry.
So we discuss
You guys have 5 minutes to design the role play.
You have a timer.
5 minutes. Go.
We have to make the content of the story.
Choose the location first.
Location.
Location first, maybe
Location
in
first.
how think about how to
Easy is that you can describe using body language. Maybe coffee shop. Is that right?
or
Sip some coffee or
yes,
oh, you want to go to drink beer?
it's easier to describe.
Yeah. So how about the food then? Easy, right? So a chicken wing.
Chicken leg.
Want them to guess right away.
Let me listen to it.
Yeah.
What happened? Someone.
Yeah, drunk. But it's
But okay, we're talking about characters.
really
I will be the test. You can take. We don't have to say anything, okay? Perfect.
okay. So location to be either police.
No, first word this will be the past.
No, it should be in the road.
The road.
It should be on the road.
Okay, the road.
Policeman standing in and with us.
Okay.
We are drunk.
And you can act picture like
Characters.
so you can do it.
Yeah, we have the policeman and we have the people who drunk.
Alright, and I will pull you guys over.
We do.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah, and we just sit like
Alright.
and draw and explain word over
Right.
and punish do some kind of people.
Alright, then I will write.
The money.
With mine.
The money.
Is that the reality in Vietnam?
Yeah.
So let's practice.
We like
The script. Alright, let's do it. Oh yes, perfect, perfect.
Yeah, maybe you drive the motorbike and maybe I drive a car.
2 minutes left. 2 minutes.
2 is left.
Okay. So not he comes at the same time with stop the car and stop the car.
In group,
You
your friend who
so I
think that your
I
friend.
just drive the car and you on my car no need you to drive motorbike anymore. Yes.
I will.
And just me because I drive. I drive.
Okay, just you, okay? And then you will take the money from pocket and then you give to her and then you give to me. So that you have to play a part in our movie.
Good job.
I don't
You
want
guys done?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm good.
You're good? One more minute, so maybe
Practice?
fine-tune the sketch.
Let's see what we can do here. Alright, so alright.
Sit behind me.
Do anything
Remember,
high
no
out
talking
power,
at all.
okay?
Don't talk to him. No what? No lip movement, nothing.
Yeah.
No link.
Don't look. Don't look. Okay, guys. Let's get back to our seats.
Okay.
We're done. Let's go back to our seats. The last team to finish putting their chairs will be the first team to come and perform.
Oh my god.
There's no cheating.
I'm just kidding. So I guess that's us.
That is you. So thank you for volunteering here. You can set up your props. Guys, please don't talk while they're performing. Take your notebooks out and take notes of the location, the characters, and the situation, please. Okay, 1, 2, 3, action.
Action.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, action. Give them a big round of applause. Let's go. No speaking. You guys done? All right. Okay, get back to your seats and let's see what happened here. Where are
Maybe a restaurant.
they? In a restaurant. Good. What happened?
Oh man. Oh man. The waiter took the wrong order.
Yeah, the waiter
Served wrong.
gave you the wrong food, yes.
Food.
Is that true? Yes.
Okay, now let's see, the different characters, fairly easy. Huyen, Nyum, and Huang were
Or customers.
customers or clients of the restaurant. Good, and Feng was the
Waiter.
waiter with the bad order taking. Well done, good job, that was simple and straight to the point. I'll invite the next team, please. Okay. Give them a big round of applause, please. Thank you. 3, 2, 1, action.
Done. We're done.
You're done? Okay, confused. Where are they? No, I didn't. Okay. Maybe it's due to
It's a social problem in Vietnam.
So where is it?
No, I think this one I understand.
On the street.
On the
You were
street?
not saying anything.
No. Sorry.
Okay, so on the street.
No, what's because you can you
I don't know. I don't know.
See this?
We will explain it.
Okay, explain it after. So there
Police,
are.
police. Police.
Okay, I thought at the beginning it was the police, and I thought it was a traffic incident or
Yeah.
something like that. Okay, and then what happened?
What happened? The police.
So the police pulled somebody over on a motorbike, is that it?
Yes.
Okay, and then he was trying to get some money.
Well, first of all, it's the
Alcohol check.
Alcohol.
Alcohol.
alcohol
Okay,
in their blood and their.
and then you got that person to sit down?
Yes.
Yeah, and well, as you can see, someone like tuck a little bit of money. Out of
And then you tried
To bribe.
Yeah.
Okay.
They try to bribe.
I've had to do the bribing part. I've never had the alcohol test. That's why I was a little bit
That's cool.
confused. I think you did a good job, guys. Well done. So who was the police? But he did not accept the money. So
I didn't.
I didn't see him accept it.
No. I said no. I said no.
No. Good job. I'm not.
I'm an honest person, okay?
And was the drunk driver.
Yeah.
No drinking and driving.
No drinking.
Lady. And Urum and Tien were friends of the drunk.
I just gave him a warning, that's it. That's all.
That's great. That's great.
That's a nice police officer. Well done. So guys, the purpose of this little mini activity, first it's fun to do role plays in the TESOL classroom. Use loads and loads of role plays with your students. They're fun, meaningful ways of recreating a social environment. Now, in this case, it's to demonstrate the use of body language. When talking to lower levels, do not underestimate the power of body language in terms of communicating effectively with your students. If you are teaching on Saturday lower levels, I want to see body language used, slow speed of speech, and simple use of language. It's not easy, but it is something that you need to develop if you are teaching lower levels. A lot of people think it's easy to teach lower levels. It's probably the hardest thing you will ever do as a teacher, is trying to explain something to someone that does not understand the language you are using. So with that being said, remember the use of body language, slow speed of speech, plenty of visual aids, and simple language. Guys, I had a wonderful morning with you guys. It is 12:05.
Thank you, Simon.
It's 12:05. We're going to go for 1 hour of lunch. Please come back at 1:05. Enjoy your lunch,
Thank you.
guys. Bye.
So are we going to get lunch together?
Sure, why not?